everybody. Welcome to another episode of Alto Call. And as always, it's another off season episode. Today's off season episode is going to be Million Dollar Secret, the Netflix reality competitive show that came out about 2 weeks ago, and a little bit of Hulu's Got to Get Out. And I'm excited to have my guest this week. My guest is Ricky Valero. Hi, Ricky. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to talk about Million Dollar Secret and a little bit about Got to Get Out. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yes. I know I don't think I know personally a lot of people who watch the show, so I'm excited as well. But I do want to give the opportunity before we go into the episode for you to introduce yourself and, what you talk about and things like that.
Yeah, my name is Ricky Valero. I am the host of the Love and Reality podcast. Basically, each week I recap a show that's on reality TV. Million Dollar Secret just got over, but Battle Camp is coming on April
Mhm.
23rd, so I'll be covering that. Not too pleased that it's dropping all at once, but it happens, you know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah.
I love reality TV, so I started the Love and Reality podcast about 2 years ago, and been talking about a little bit here, there, everywhere, and excited to talk about Million Dollar Secret as I've got a couple interviews with some of the cast members up on the channel. So
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm looking forward to you sharing like some insight that you got from the cast that you talked to, and you did talk to. I don't want to say the right people, but some interesting people like Sydney, Sam, and Kyle. Like it's good to get their point of view because sometimes you're at the TV like, what were you thinking? So it's always good when the interviews start. So I do want to ask, do you separate reality TV like into competitive reality TV, or they're all like in one? The dating, the competitive ones, they're all in one bucket for you.
So it's a funny you asked that because obviously the podcast is called Love in Reality,
Yeah.
right? And so I quantify that sometimes of when you're trying to win $1 million, you want to, you love that chase. And I just think it's my love for reality TV, my guest love for reality TV, and then also the interviews that I'm doing, their love, their passion for reality TV. And a lot of people have that background, not
Yeah.
everybody, but a lot of people have that background when you're interviewing them. They're they're fans of reality TV. So that's the name initially started with being based off of Perfect Match, Love is Blind, but I was like,
Hmm.
this universe is so much bigger than that. So I've broadened the scope. I covered Married at First Sight this recent season. I've covered Vanderpump Villa, a lot of different shows. So it's
Hmm.
not just about love; it's about competition. It's about love. It's all under one umbrella, and yeah,
Okay.
it's a whole lot of fun.
Okay. So, what are your favorite reality shows, and what are your favorite competitive reality shows? Because I separate them when I talk
Yeah,
talk about them.
yeah. I mean, I separate them when I talk about them, but so as far as favorite reality shows, it varies depending on I guess the drama. You know what I mean? I
Mm,
guess you could say. But Love is Blind is always a staple just based on the early days were pretty great. I
yeah.
don't, not to say that the newer seasons haven't been great. They're filled with drama. I think they're kind of getting away from what we initially liked about the shows.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a big fan of Perfect Match just because of how messy it is. I
Hmm.
guess the messier the better for me. You know what I mean? And that it makes it easier to talk about. It makes it easier
Yeah.
to cover and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Competition shows, uh, I'm still getting my feet wet, right? The
Hmm.
one that I'm watching right now is one of my favorites that I've watched in a while, competition wise, and that's Extracted. It
Mm,
was on Fox,
yeah.
and I've been covering that weekly. And I don't think the idea is perfect. I think it's like Million Dollar Secret. The
Yeah.
idea is there. It's not perfect, but it's there, and it's really, really good TV each and every week. And I'm a big fan of these weekly shows. You know, it makes
Yeah.
this easier for us as creators
Yeah.
because, when we get ready to cover like Got to Get Out or Battle Camp, everything
Yeah.
dropping at once, it makes it harder for us creators to make content focused on just these things because you got to watch all 10 episodes or you got to watch a
Yeah.
couple and release them in batches. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Extracted on Fox right now. If you haven't watched it yet, it's fantastic, folks.
Yeah, I was on the fence about that, but I will go do that right now. I'm still like a old school girly, like with the survivors and the challenge and things like that. But you put it out there, I'll watch it. So I watch most of it. Okay. So we're going to start a little bit with Got to Get Out. Guys, this is a show that is out on Hulu, and everyone is trying to find their own traders. No one's ever going to get traders, but everyone's going to try. And I'm here for it because I will consume whatever effort they put out. And the premise is they have a bunch of people who they call reality rookies, meaning they've been on a reality show, but you probably have never heard of them unless you're like thick into the reality TV watching game. And then there's the reality stars that you obviously know, the Cynthia Baileys from Housewife, Spencer Pratt from The Hills. Um, and they have all these people in there, and their whole goal is they're supposed to get out of a house in a gate. There's a gate on there. Every now and then there's a lock that turns green, and they give them clues. And if you're able to get out, if you have an accomplice, they have the option to come back and say, I got out and I had help with XYZ, or they could screw them over and not say that. But it was fun. But I will ask you, because I've watched all 10 episodes, but I will ask you, since you watched just a few, what was your first impression of the few episodes that you watched?
So you gave me a little bit of homework before I came on the show, and I appreciated it. No, it's. I feel like it's almost fitting in that bottle of $1 million secret because there's a few ideas for
Mm-hmm.
$1 million secret that I want to fix. This one,
Yeah.
it's. It felt like it's not a fully fleshed out idea.
Mm.
It's. I like the concept. I like the concept. Sorry, I dropped something. I like the concept of what we were bringing to the table. However, I just don't feel like the rules were necessarily laid out exactly the way I would have wanted them to. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
fully capture everything within that first episode. But I will say this, it was pretty funny. There is moments that are funny that are
Yeah.
trying the people trying to escape. I think it was
Yeah.
Steve who just repeatedly kept on trying to escape early on, and
Yeah.
him lying to literally I think everybody that would listen to him saying I'm not going to do anything. But I don't know if the cast necessarily knew what they were
Yeah.
supposed to do either, because I mean, Omarosa is must see TV, and maybe she's a little bit better as the season progresses. But I don't know if this was the perfect show for her. I feel like they have to, the Survivor people, the Big Brother people, the Challenge people. Those are the type of people I feel like should be the celebrity aspect of this type of show, or like
Yeah.
the manipulative gameplay people instead of these half cooked Dancing with the Stars, The Apprentice, the Hill, all of these other shows that these people come from are football players. And
Yeah.
I liked what I've seen. I'll finish it because that's just who I am. I just have to finish it now that you made me start it. But I'm intrigued by the premise, but I definitely feel like there's areas where they could fix things. What about you?
Absolutely. At the point where you are, has anyone escaped yet?
Not yet, no. So I think
Okay.
I'm episode 3.
Okay. So I completely agree with you that there's a lot of loopholes on there, but I think I've gotten to the point, because we have so much art to consume, where sometimes you have to just overlook it. But I think when we start talking to the creators of the show or people that are part of the show, what I want to know is, what is their intent or what is their goal? Is it for people to get out the house? Because for me, it seems nearly impossible. People are watching from the tower, people are watching from the windows. The driveway is long as fuck. Like, I don't know if they even want anyone to go out, because that will answer a lot of questions for me. Now, is it just what they're interested in is the hodgepodge of people, like you said, the Dancing with the Stars, the football player who can run, or the Spencer Pratts and the Omarosas, and having it in there and just seeing how their mind works? Is that their goal? Because I do think they accomplished it. I will say this now. I preferred Got to Get Out to Secret Millionaire. The Millionaire Secret. I keep calling it Secret Millionaire. But I did prefer it. It just gave me, it was just a lot more fun for me. And I could overlook the loopholes more than the loopholes for the Netflix show. So yeah, so that's what's get it. So when you get to whoever gets out and you see what they did, you're like, huh, you never would have expected it. And is that what they were going for? Is just seeing who will figure that out and how they did it. So I think that's interesting. And I just don't know. They got to get the tower out to me. You can't
Yeah,
have all that.
there's elements of it that I'm like, it doesn't make a lot of, because I almost felt like at first when you first listen to the show, you're almost like an escape room, right? You have to
Mm-hmm.
figure out and do clues and do these things to get out of the house, and it just feels like you're right. There just needs to be more of a fully fleshed idea of like, all right, here's the plan, here's the mission, and
Yeah.
again. As I watch more episodes, I'll unpack it a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
and my feelings about it. But it's definitely something. Again, I wish the show would have released weekly.
Yeah.
um I feel like dropping all the stuff at one time, it doesn't, it takes away from the show. I
Yeah.
think, in my opinion, and it takes away from the idea, even if you drop like 2 episodes a week, because there's a few reality
Yeah.
shows that'll do that. They'll just drop 2 episodes a week and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I mean, Got to Get Out was only 8 episodes, or not, $1 Million Secret was only 8 episodes. They dropped
Mm-hmm.
two or three and two, so that wasn't even
Yeah.
that bad. But yeah, I'm excited to check more of it out. I do think that, I almost think that if you flesh both ideas together, you almost
Mm-hmm.
have a show that works. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you take $1 Million Secret and Got to Get Out and put them together, I think
Yeah.
it works a lot better, because there's a lot of holes in $1 Million Secret that I wasn't a fan of either. So
Yeah. And then I think the last thing we got to get out that makes it, and it depends how competitive you are, is I think the people need motivation. They didn't feel like they wanted to be in the house. They really wanted to get out. It wasn't like they really wanted to get out. And then it's like, why are you motivated to make a run for it and do all that stuff when at the end, whatever's left, you're going to get something anyways? It's not going to be as much, but you're going to get something anyway. So that motivation needs to be, the stakes need to be higher. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
100% agree. That's exactly what you hit the nail on the head. The stakes need to be higher, and that's why shows like this, it's almost like you need to run a test run through of the
Yeah.
entire show in your head, because
Yeah.
there's stuff that needs to be fully fleshed out.
Yeah. And have villains. If you have like the
Yes,
Wesses, the Pratts, the things, and all they're trying to do is screw people over, we got something. We
exactly.
got something. Okay. All right. So now let's move to $1 Million Secret. I am going to try to explain the premise of this show, which I think if you don't watch, it's a little complicated. But it is hosted by Peter Serafinowicz, which is he's an actor. You might recognize him from, I think his most popular is Shaun of the Dead or something. But the show has 12 contestants. They're all together. It's like a luxurious, I don't know if it's a hotel or a mansion, but they call it the Stag. When they come in, they randomly award someone the $1 Million prize in a briefcase. They all have a key at the start of the game. The objective for this is for the millionaire to keep their identity hidden while they do all these challenges and agendas, while the other contestants try to guess who the millionaire is. At the end of each episode, the players vote for who they think has or who is the millionaire. And if the millionaire is eliminated, then they move the money to somebody else. And if they're not, if they continue to be the millionaire until I think about the third batch, they tell them you can choose if you want to keep the money or move the money away to somebody else. So they have these things called secret agendas, which are private missions that can give you, you could earn like power and you could eliminate someone or you could win something. And if you win a challenge, you go to the trophy room and you get a clue about who the current millionaire is, which you can share with the rest of the house or not. Some get disadvantages if they don't complete it, and some get advantages. And then they continue this until there's three people left, and then they do like a box swap, and whoever has the money in their box at the end becomes the winner of the $1 Million Secret. Now, Ricky, what did you think of this show as a whole?
Okay, so I like the show. I have an idea, and I actually was in the middle of interviewing Kyle about
Mm-hmm.
this, and it sparked this idea. So you
Mm-hmm.
have 12 people start the show. I think you have four people with $250,000 in their briefcases.
Mm.
And when
Mm-hmm.
you eliminate the millionaire, the half millionaire, but obviously the goal, when you eliminate one of the the people with the money in the briefcase, that money is split into like three briefcases then, right? And then
Mm,
if you
okay.
eliminate another one, it goes into another one. And then by the time you're sitting down, you're getting closer and closer, you're down to like the final four or whatever. The money never really moves. It just stays amongst these four because the secrets, the agendas and stuff. I like the agendas. I know people complained about the agendas. Some of them were harder, some of them were easier, some of them seemed fixated.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think that the show is scripted. I have talked to five or six people from the show, and they're like, "Look,
Mm-hmm.
we promise it wasn't scripted."
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do think it's a great idea. I do think that there's a lot to like. I do like the challenges. The challenges seemed fun. I don't think the stakes for eliminating the millionaire is were high. I
Mm.
get the idea of moving the money, right? The goal is to have the money at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Nobody really wanted to have the money early, but I think that they probably need to pass the money a little bit more, or they need to have multiple briefcases with money in it so that the stakes are even higher, because there's some people on the show that kind of cruised from episode 1, and not to take away from Kara, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kara was really good towards the latter part of the game, but it almost felt like through the first 5 episodes Kara was just a cast member. You know what I mean? Like,
Honestly, I would say the first 10 episodes because
you know, it wasn't until she really got the money that she made any moves that felt
yeah.
like she was part of the show. And it's nothing
Yeah.
against her, because once she got the money, it was lights out. She was fantastic, right?
Yeah.
She did a lot of good gameplay. But, you know, there's some people that it just felt like they were there for a period of time and didn't really do anything. Like, to me, the best player on the game was Sam. Sam played a heck of a game in that middle portion when she was the millionaire, that she
Mm-hmm.
completed all of her stuff. And then that final push towards the end of the show where you're having the three people face off, and she really just kind of had to stand there and just not say anything.
Yeah.
That was, it kind of took away from the whole purpose towards the end, right? I just didn't understand that aspect of it. So there's a few things that I would iron out. Overall, I enjoyed it. I like that they only did 8 episodes. It didn't feel like it dragged out. Um, I do wish there were certain elements of the show that you could take away. But what did you think of it? Because again, I enjoyed it for the most part, but
Yeah.
some of these first seasons of reality TV show, it reminds me a little bit about the Trust. It reminds you a little bit about Traders, all
Mm.
kind of blended in one. I even
Yeah.
feel like with the Trust, there was issues with that I didn't love, but
Yeah.
there's things that you can fix after for a season 2. So if we get a season 2, I think there's ideas. But what did you think?
I was thinking about you idea. I feel like if I enjoyed it. Like I said, it just had a little bit more holes. I'm one of those people who did not enjoy the agendas not being equal. I at least I don't think. I mean, telling someone to make everybody scream and then the clue is a horror movie. Come on, that's like a dead giveaway in that aspect. So that's the part I don't get, and it's almost like you're being punished for being the millionaire.
Exactly. And that's, and I agree with that, because like Phil got the short end of the stick. Like, we
Yeah.
even talking to Kyle was like, as soon as he came back and revealed that it was the title of a horror movie, he's like, he kind of knew that, like, as soon as he heard somebody say scream, it was over for Phil. And
Yeah.
I get it from that point of view of like, that was tough. Like, that was a kind of an easier clue, and he
Yeah.
kind of came a scapegoat because of it. Sure, could he have done it a little bit better of trying to navigate it, but you don't know what that clue's coming out. So it's not like it's, hey,
Yeah.
you know, you could have done something else there. Cause like there was some other ones, like the Justin Timberlake songs, that was really weird. Like, that was hard.
Yeah.
The I can hear the ring or whatever it was. That was pretty
Yeah.
hard. Like, they made them harder, and that one kind of seemed light. But there needs to be
Very
something
obvious.
different about those agendas, right?
Yeah. And I think making it random, like I don't know how they're picking who the millionaire is going to be if the producers are involved because they want to make a show and they think this person is going to do that, but I think doing what they did in the first where they just pulled out a key and making it random, because what would Kara have done if she had been a millionaire early in the game?
Agreed, agreed. And because she wasn't a strong game player early
Yeah.
on. And again, there's a lot we don't see, right? We don't know if
Yeah.
Cara was a bad game player. You know what I mean? We only see what we see from her point of view, which is understandable. But at the same time, from what we're watching, what we're consuming, what we're
Yeah.
getting, Cara wasn't very strong. Um, I no offense to Kyle, no offense to Kyle. I like Kyle a
Mhm.
lot, but he was a nice guy. Corey was a bad player. Like I don't know if the only thing that I felt like Corey did very good in this game was whenever he came out and was like told everybody to say the whole police thing. That was great. That
Yeah.
was perfect, right? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like
Mhm.
that was great. However, I didn't think that he was a great game player. No offense to Chris. Chris had some interesting moments, but they consumed the idea of him and Sydney more. And I think that was for editing purposes. Let's
Yeah.
be real at the end of the day, because even talking to both of them, Sydney was like, hey, I made it known early. There ain't nothing flying here. Chris was like, they're playing the game and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
there has to be a little bit more evenness. I honestly wish we would have saw somebody get the money twice. I think
Mm.
that would have been cool to see how they would have handled it the first time versus the second time.
Yes.
Um, I don't know how that works, but there's certain dynamics about it that need to definitely be fixed. And I think there needs to be some better players. I love the kill
Yeah.
shot. The kill shot was fantastic. That
Yeah.
idea, great, because the kill shot of Lydia, best part of the entire season, right?
Yeah.
When they eliminate Lydia in that moment, when Sam chooses to kill shot Lydia, because Lydia was a. I wish we
Yeah.
knew more about her too,
Yeah.
because she seemed like she was going to play a good game, but the players like Lauren, I thought was not very like she just did not do it for me. She didn't like even as the millionaire, you know.
But let's go back to that. I do agree that we needed better players because one of my pet peeves on competitive reality shows is when people say, I trust them 100%. Why? What do you know about this person you just met 10 days ago in a game about $1 million? And you're like, I trust Kara. I know Kara is not, I know. Why? Like, that just pisses me off because you've watched so many shows, you know all these things. Of course, that is the person that should be suspicious of. There's that. And then the whole Lauren thing. I'm easy on Lauren because she was the first millionaire. And I think they were just all finding their bearings and what was going on. She did do a little bit too much, but afterwards, when they're like, yeah, we're not going to look for a millionaire, we're just going to vote her out because she's suspicious. I don't like, what are we even talking about? We know for sure, the one person we know for sure is not the millionaire is who we're going to vote for. And then we're punishing her because they made her the millionaire. And then they're all, you're a liar, you're lying, you lied to us. It is a game of lies and deceit.
Yeah, that's one big thing. And the thing about it is, at the end of the day, this is where. How long have you been watching reality TV?
Oh my God. Maybe over 20 years. It's been too
Okay,
long.
so you understand this, and I
Yeah.
said this on my interview with Sydney. Okay, people these days would not live in a world of the early
No.
days of Survivor. Can you
No.
think of how social media would have handled Johnny Fairplay and his buddies lying about his
His
grandma
grandma.
passing? One of the most
Yep.
iconic moments in reality TV history. That would have
Mm-hmm.
been chastised on the internet. I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
win in this show. The stakes
Yeah.
were higher than they've ever been on any other reality TV show on Netflix, right? They don't
Yeah.
give out $1 million. If
Mm-mm.
we're fighting for $1 million, they're going to lie. They're
Yeah.
gonna do whatever it takes to win $1 million. Again, you don't know any of these people when you walk in this building. The
Yeah.
number one objective, literally the show is backstabbing, lying, and deception.
I think, when Jamie was telling her, like, oh, I don't know, you're a liar. And I'm like, Jamie, if you were the millionaire, what would you have done? You have to lie. So putting that on
You're
her.
not gonna walk in the door and say, "Yep, I'm the millionaire."
Yeah, exactly. So, and I don't know why she was so harsh to Lauren. So I guess, I mean, I understood where Lydia was coming from when she was leaving, but I do think Jamie and Sydney had like the hardest time on the show. They were just suspects from the very beginning. And I understand why Sydney made that comment where I think she kind of alluded to Cara not being a deserving winner because she's basically just cruised. And I was curious about your take on that because I'll tell you mine. I thought I agreed with her at first when I was like, It's true. Like people have been working their asses off and she's just been laying in the background and she just scoops it up. And then I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? That is a strategy. I may not enjoy that strategy because what if everybody else was laying low? It would be pretty boring, but that is a strategy. And I do think Kara's best move the entire game was when Sam asked her, how many sisters do you have? Without hesitation, she said one. That was it. So I have to give her credit, like you said, for showing up in the fourth quarter. But is that something that bothers you? Like you should be on from the very beginning, or are you okay with Kara's gameplay?
So we've seen this for years on reality TV where
Mhm.
you have somebody that will coast. They'll lie in the middle, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They just want to coast. The coast is clear, and it's smart in one way.
Mhm.
Does it suck as a viewer? Yes, it does. Because again,
Absolutely.
like you said, like until it's literally until I think the sixth episode, I think it was
Yeah.
when she gets the the $1 million briefcase. She was, in my opinion, she was there,
Mhm.
and it does suck in a way. But also, the purpose of this game is to try to get the money as late as possible.
Yeah.
So if you're not in the forefront, and you got to think about it, the big personalities. Sydney was eliminated because she was a big person. Sydney would have been eliminated way earlier if it wasn't
Mhm.
for the kill shot, if it wasn't for Sam's double vote. She
Yeah,
would have been
and her
gone.
winning I think she won immunity.
Right. And winning immunity. Right. If she would have never have done any of those things, Sydney would have been gone. She was a
Mhm.
dominant personality. Chris, loud personality, right?
Mhm. He was cocky.
Yeah. Jamie, big personality. The Lauren, after she had the millionaire, and the big reason why they eliminated her was because they didn't feel like they could trust her to the element of what secrets was she keeping.
Yeah.
Sydney said this to me in our interview. She said, we weren't mad that she lied to us. We were mad because basically she's like, I'm the millionaire. I had to lie about certain things and then kind of cried about it the next sentence. That was the big reason why they felt like if she would have just owned it and been like, I was the millionaire. This is what I lied about. These are the things that I had to do. They wouldn't have eliminated her. I, to
Mm.
say now the big personalities now as far as Kara goes, Kara flew under the radar. She was very
Yeah.
quiet. She was in the mix. But at these dinners that we're seeing, Sydney's loud. Even Corey was a little bit loud.
Yeah.
Philip, very dominant personality early on, big personality. And I think that got in the way. There was little secrets here and there that we see kind of revealed that kind of eliminated some of these people. So it's like, in a
Yeah.
way, you can't blame Kara in some aspects because she cruised through the way. But I also
Yeah.
felt like it was more so because of the cast was
Yeah.
so vocal that allow her to fly under the radar. And then, of course, you brought it up, right? The
Mhm.
reaction to her saying, I have one sister.
Mhm.
She spoke about this on a podcast, on a different podcast, and said,
Mhm.
everybody thinks that moment was rigged. She said, after they said cut there, she went in to talk to the producers, and the producers asked her how many sisters she had. She said, I have two. They got
Oh.
mad. They got not get mad. They got worried that they thought that she had only one sister because of how fast she answered the question. So they thought they
Yeah.
messed up the clue. But in actuality, she said it so fast. She even confused the producers in that moment because they were like fumbling around thinking somebody didn't do their job right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like so and I think they played a good with the two sister thing, obviously that was the thing that, Jamie
Mhm.
ultimately fumbled. And of course Corey had the one sister. I got one sister, a half sister, that whole weird thing. But
And that's the other thing I think they need to work on because it's like you're implicating somebody else because we don't know the rules. Corey's like, well, I have a half sister, but she's my sister, but she's not from the same. She's not. It's complicated. So
yeah, it was definitely. I don't, but I don't necessarily hate that because on the surface, technically, when you say, how many brothers do you have?
yeah,
I got one brother. I've got three sisters. At the end of the day, for me, like I only have one blood sister. You know what I mean? But I still say I have three sisters. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
like I don't necessarily fault them in a way for that,
okay,
um, but yeah, the big thing that I didn't like was just the final moment because I felt like Sam lost that competition and she had to sit there and watch Corey and and Kara fight while she couldn't say anything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that moment was weird to me because it was like, Sam played a really good game. Like, I felt like Sam was probably the best player on the game.
Yeah.
Sydney, I felt played good too, but yeah.
I thought Sam was pretty intense, but I got used to it by the end. But when you spoke to her, did she say anything about why she just blindly trusted Kara? Like what was that? I
She said
trust her. She's not a liar.
yeah, so they formed a bond very early on. Like, they were like day oneies. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And she said that was one of the biggest pitfalls in her game. She literally says that to me. She said it was the
Okay.
biggest pitfall in her game was realizing that Kara towards the end was kind of lying to her and playing her in that moment. And what happened was is obviously once she did the sewing thing in that minute and 30 seconds or
Mm,
whatever that won her that advantage, she said
mm-hmm.
she knew in that moment she was a millionaire, and then she knew in that moment there was nothing she could do now because she couldn't say anything. Because she
Yeah.
was when you get to that final three, you were sitting in the trophy room, and
Yes.
Sam was really not allowed to say much of anything except for maybe defending herself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because she lost the opportunity to fight in that moment. So
Yeah.
yeah, so she said it was one of her biggest downfall. Obviously, Chris's biggest downfall outside of being a loudmouth was lying to Sydney about voting for
His vote.
Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Sam said her biggest downfall was, trusting Kara for as long as she did.
Yeah. Let's talk about that final three because maybe you can help me out with that because I'm not gonna lie, I was a little confused as to how that was brought about. Why did we start with Corey when he came second?
I think it's because he came in second. I think you have so Sam wasn't allowed to say anything at all. So I
Okay.
think if you got first place, you got the opportunity to fight last.
Okay. Okay. You
Yeah,
get
yeah.
rematches. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what it
So
was.
that's where and then Corey went too hard at Sam, and that's where he fumbled that too. And that's the thing. That to me was where I felt Corey was like Kara in some elements, where he cruised through. He was like in the middle, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know whose side he was ever on, really, because at one point it felt like he was with Sydney,
Yeah.
Kyle, and Chris. And then the
Mm-hmm.
next minute he's like BFFs with Kara and Sam. And you're like, what happened? Like, he almost wavered to whatever side felt like was going to win him something.
I think it was maybe the editing because I know I was surprised when I found out that him and Kara were like so close. I'm like, when did that happen?
No
So
clue. Had no clue. Because he even said it at the end of the game. Like, they were talking about, like, yeah, Carr and I have been BFFs. Sam and Carr were BFFs. And again, maybe that's a testament to Kara's game. Obviously,
yeah.
is she befriended people early on. Maybe her gameplay was being nice to everybody and getting everybody on her side, so that at the
Yeah.
end she can swoop in and win the game. But her realizing Corey in that moment was going too hard at Sam. Great
Mhm.
gameplay by Kara. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. She said she relied very heavily on her intuition and that guided her, throughout the whole thing. So, I mean, good for her, but if there's a season 2, do you have an itemized list of things that you would want to change
Yeah. So
besides the
Yeah, so
money?
for me, I think the money thing is one big thing. I think that 4 people have the briefcases to start the show. Um, because if you break it down, I think if you do it this way, right? So 4 people have briefcases.
Mhm.
The you can when you do your agenda, you have 4 different agendas going on at one time, which is
Yeah.
absolutely crazy, right? Think about that. You have 4 different
Yeah.
agendas going on at one time. One of the millionaires or half mil whatever quarter millionaires can win immunity. So at any given time, each round table, if the person that's voted is eliminated, they don't know. I don't think you announce the kill shots. I think
Okay.
or you wait till after the voting and then you say, "Hey, there was a kill shot. This person's eliminated," type of thing. Um, I feel like there needs to be secret agendas by the non-money carriers. Um,
Mhm.
I think that you know what I mean. There has to be a balance of like with the traders. If you do a competition and you win the competition, you're immune. I think
Yeah.
that's something that needs to happen. Or you make it a competition. That's your agenda. Is like you're competing. The winner of the competition gets full fledged immunity. Like You can't be voted out. You can't be kill shotted because, like Sydney got that at the end. You can't be
Yeah.
kill shotted. You can't be this. You can't be eliminated by a vote.
Yeah.
That's something that I think could help because if you know somebody, a strong player is immune, if you're winning, because if you don't have the money, what are you playing for
Yeah.
at that given moment?
Yeah.
And because you could be eliminated, like we talked about, Lauren got eliminated, and she didn't even. They knew she didn't have the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's definitely, and I think I would definitely change the final gameplay. I think
Yeah.
you could keep it the same way it is, but I think maybe you only can strategize by, all right, Sam, you finished third, you get to speak, and you only get like a minute to speak. Corey,
Yeah.
you finished second, you get 2 minutes. The first, probably, if you're in first place, you get 3 minutes to speak, something like that. But all of the people have to have, because if you've made it that far, you've earned the opportunity at the $1 million. Like Sam just sat there like, Humpty Dumpty, and just did not get to say anything at all. So
Yeah.
there's certain elements I would. What about you? Do you have any ideas of concepts of maybe what you would change?
Well, not necessarily concept, but piggybacking off what you said, I feel like if they do have four people that have the 250,000, they're gonna need more than 12 people playing. Then I kind of feel, because that would be a lot of people where they more than likely are gonna get someone. Or is that what you're thinking that
My
it?
goal would be is they do get something, someone, and
Okay,
once you get if you get the money, got a person with the money, that money is then split up to three briefcases.
okay, okay,
So
okay,
like you
okay.
take the
Yeah.
100, you take the 250 and you move it, and you basically, like, three people have $333,000 in their briefcase. So with
Okay.
there only being 8 episodes, right, you can really do, let's say 2, 4, 6, and then the finale, right? You have somebody eliminated, like you have a round table. You're getting eliminated. You get rid of people. You got kill shots. You have a final three, so really only 9 people need to be eliminated in the
Yeah.
first 7 episodes. It's not a lot of people. Um,
Okay.
and then ultimately, like the last person that has the briefcase, then you can do the moving of the briefcase. If you that I know the big problem is if you eliminate all four millionaires, then you're in trouble. You know what I
Trouble.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't know where we go from there, but it's just a
Yeah.
a, a surface idea. I think that could happen, but there has to be
Yeah.
stakes for eliminating a millionaire, or
Yeah.
the pot starts at $250,000, and every time you eliminate a millionaire, you add $250,000 to the pot. Like maybe
To
it's
that.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I can see that. I think I mentioned earlier, the only thing I'll do is like to make it random, just kind of make the viewers feel like they're part of it, because not knowing how they assigned who became the millionaire, or like Sam, who was the millionaire, the money moved away and then she got a clue afterwards. It's just, it seems a lot. Why does she get to be the millionaire, gets to be rid of the money, and then get the clue that could help also? So I think pulling out the bag, that's what I would prefer. Is it being random, pulling out the key, and then that's what it is. It feels like we're part of it. We're seeing the behind the scenes, and it's like, let the chips fall where they may in
Yeah,
that aspect.
have a clip where Peter
Yeah.
is literally has the bag, and it's just him, because he
Yeah.
was a great host. I loved him. I thought he was
He was.
fantastic. So
Mm-hmm.
you literally have him pulling, a key out of the card, or key out of the thing or whatever. And I think it takes away from. I think their idea is like, oh, it takes away from opening the crate thing, which I'm like, we saw that too many times. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. Just tell us who, or maybe he pulls the key out and then knocks on the door and says, "Hey, you're now the millionaire." You know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
I think the suspense is of him opening the cases, or we watch somebody like Sam open the briefcase. Oh, you have the millionaire, and then we see a montage of Peter pulling her name out of a thing.
Yeah.
Something that shows us that there is a randomness of being picked.
Yes, exactly. And I think, again, piggybacking off what you said, not announcing that someone, they didn't tell us if someone has immunity or if there's a kill shot. Like you said, they're keeping a secret, because that also puts the millionaire on the line. Like whoever you're going to pick, if someone gets picked, that would be very obvious. Like, oh, this is a person that picked this person and they have immunity. That gives a reveal like, oh, this person picked her because they don't like her. But don't tell them that there's a kill shot. Don't tell them they have immunity. Let everybody operate in the dark and then reveal it afterwards. If they got saved by the immunity, then you tell them afterwards, like, the millionaire picked this person, let's say Sydney, but she has immunity, so she's not going. And everybody be like, ah, who would have picked her? That's the
Yep.
only other thing that would have changed. I have a question. In the interviews, did anyone mention when Peter walks into the room, can they hear anything? Because somebody in the season had said something about go through the back door. I know it was a joke, but I don't know.
So I think like many of the shows, like if you watch like the Temptation Islands, you
Yeah.
watch the Perfect Matches,
Mhm.
when you have those, they literally appear out of nowhere, right? Like Mark, like they
Mhm.
joke on like Temptation Island, like Mark Wahlberg just appears out of
Yeah.
nowhere and he says, "Hey guys," or like Nick Lachey will walk in and be like, "Hey guys," and they're
Yeah.
just kind of startled. I think that's what it stems from. They're kind of startled at the idea of like the who, the what's, the when's, the where, and the how, like where they're coming from and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think that from that they did stay in that house. Like they did stay in the house. They stayed in the house. They apparently ate from like a gourmet chef that cooked some amazing food. They all had their own rooms. They would just move rooms sometimes based on somebody being eliminated. But everybody said that Peter was great. He was, a lot of his one-liners were his own one-liners. He was super
Mhm.
funny and stuff like that. So um, I don't know per se about the backdoor thing, but at the end of the day, like most of these people were like, hey, like this element of the show, it's like this was raw. And there were several like raw moments. Kyle told a really cool story about like he got along with everybody. He's a down home
Yeah.
Southern boy.
Mhm.
And he talked about in a clip with me, he said, when he got eliminated, so basically when you get eliminated, you're gone.
Yeah.
Like you're gone.
Oh.
Like
Oh.
so you stand up from so everybody packs their bags before the round table.
Oh. Oh, how annoying.
Right. And then you go to the table, you sit at the table, and when you're eliminated, you stand up and you literally walk into the trophy room. You grab your
Mhm.
bags and you go up the stairs, whatever, or you go up the stairs, whatever, and then you come down and you get in a car and you're gone. Like you're
Yeah.
just you're banished or whatever. And
Mhm.
one thing he said he walked up the steps and there was like everybody was standing there waiting for him, like cheering him on because everybody like appreciated his graciousness and he was very kind. And but like to know that in that moment, like everybody packed their bags ahead of each time they were eliminated.
Mm.
Then you got, basically you got walked out the door, like, hey, you're done
Yeah.
here. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's definitely, again, there's elements of the show that felt, and I get why people were like, this show was rigged. You know what I mean? But, in talking to the cast, and they were like, Kyle even said he asked the producers, hey man, some of this drama seems made up. What are we doing here? It's like some of this, he's like, they're like, no, like we are just filming. You know what I mean? So
That's funny. I'm the most pessimistic person, but actually didn't feel like it was rigged. I just thought it wasn't like the best produced or thought out, but
agreed.
I didn't necessarily think that.
I didn't think so either. I think that like there was like the Phil thing. Like everybody's caught up in the Phil agenda, which I
Yeah.
get, and I
Yeah.
felt bad for him.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's very early in the game too, right? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there could have been a different clue that would have helped him a little bit, but they say basically from the time that you get the agenda to the time that you're filming is like a matter of seconds. So like you have to think on the fly. So
Yeah.
part of it's almost like, hey Phil, like, could he have maybe come up with a better idea about getting somebody, I think because he had to get what, three people to scream, I think it was, or something
Yeah.
like that. But, again, it's hard to balance that out. So I kind of felt bad for him, but also like, hey guys, it's part of the game and it's a season one at that.
Yeah, I think what he could have done better was spin it on. I do think it was actually Sam who actually said it. And I would have just been like, no, Sam was the one who said, let's scream. I was the one to go heavy on that and then lie and gaslight her. Everyone likes to use that word. Might as well use it. And
Might
then
as
do
well.
that. Might as well. And I think he didn't do himself any favors for voting to keep Sydney. That was so obvious. His whole demeanor, you went from being so loudmouth to being quiet. No. So there were a whole bunch of things that didn't help his case. It was just his time to go. I think, do you think this is gonna have the fate of the trust, a one and done? Or do you think
No, this is too popular. So
oh,
it stayed in the top 5 for quite a while, and I think that was the
okay.
difference between this one and the Trust. There was also that other one they came out with a couple years ago, Surviving Paradise, I think it was, which
Yeah.
I thought was pretty decent. I'm surprised they didn't bring that back, but they're already casting for season 2. This is something that not a lot of people know, but they're already
Okay.
casting for season 2 of $1 Million Secret. I think the casting process has begun. They're not shooting it yet or anything like that, but
Yeah.
they're already in the process of casting for season two. They haven't announced it yet. Temptation
Yeah.
Island just got announced for season two
Season
yesterday.
2, yes. I heard that.
But I do think within the next, I'd say 2 weeks, we'll get a 2 or 3 weeks, we'll get a firm confirmation of $1 Million Secret.
Confirmation.
It's been way too popular.
Okay.
I think that they have some stars here. I think Kyle's going to be. I think we'll see Kyle. We'll see Sydney.
Sydney.
We'll
Yeah.
see probably Chris.
I
Um,
think Corey.
and possibly Corey on our TVs because again they're building this reality TV universe.
Universe.
Battle Camp's coming out this week, and
So
once
excited.
yeah, it's I can't really talk much about it, but yeah, I really Battle Camp's a good one. But I do think we have a lot of people building this universe that I think you could have some of these people do Battle Camp. You might see some of these people cross over into like Perfect Match season three.
That's always
Um,
the goal, which is, I want to say, is it another pet peeve? Kind of. So I'm going to not pick on Chris, but Chris, I listened, was it your interview? I think he said it. I've listened to so many, I keep mixing them up. He did this to get recognition for his beverage brand.
it was my show. Yeah.
Okay, it was your show. Okay. And this is my concern for the fate of reality TV. Everyone's doing it for the clout, for the influencing, for the thing.
Love is Blind.
Exactly. And at this point, I just play a game with myself like, where have I seen you before? I'm watching Drag Race last night. This guy from Amazing Race is on there dancing in the background. Like, they're different people. The crossover is major right now. And it's just not, is it silly to me? Yes, because he didn't even get to promote his brand. He said it was a beverage brand. I'm like, what kind of beverage? Tea, coffee? I don't even know. You didn't do anything. So that's going to be a problem. And it's not a $1 million secret problem. It's a reality TV problem. And I hope, like, when they cast season 2, they don't run into that, because that's going to be people just coming in here to make a name for themselves. Or, like I joke, everyone is auditioning to be on the perfect match. That's just what I think. All Netflix shows, everyone's, if I'm going to be a villain, at least I'll get cast on the perfect match, even though. So
Yeah.
that's my hope for season 2, that they, if they're lucky, find people. And I'm not saying the Caras, because again, that would be a boring show, but people who are half and half, who are like, I'm here to play the game. If I get to promote this is fine, but let's not get one or the other, because it just really
Yeah,
annoys me.
everybody's trying to become a social media influencer, and that's a lot of what's wrong with, I believe, with Love Is Blind. Early
Mhm.
days of Love Is Blind, it was about finding love, and I know that in the early years of Love Is Blind, they would force them go to the altar no matter what. Now
Yep.
they've gotten rid of that out of the contracts because people thought it was a little ludicrous, and I don't hate that, but I
Oh,
also
I
can
hate it.
foresee I can also foresee people literally just going on here for their 5 minutes of fame. If we stopped giving people 5 minutes of fame, we wouldn't have these problems. But um, Netflix is trying to build the challenge like universe, right? Because the challenge
Yeah.
was the original OG of it
Yeah.
all. Those
Mhm.
people branched off to do other shows, the Amazing
Mhm.
Races, the Survivors, the now the Traders. The Traders is in that mix and stuff like that. You
Mhm.
see these people all over the place, and they need to do it in a non-love version.
Yeah.
Like I'm tired of every perfect match is not good in some elements because most of these people don't live in the same even United States, country together. So it's hard to build that. So Battle Camp, I think, is going to fix some of those issues. But they need, if you're going to do Battle Camp, you need to at least release a Battle Camp twice a year. Like you have to.
Yeah.
You got to keep these people's prevalent. There's another. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. There's another show. I don't remember which one it is, but there's another reality TV show coming soon, and I'm trying to remember if it was Netflix or if it's another brand because they've got to come up with a couple different premises of shows that we're seeing a lot of people, from these shows go on instead of just continuously. I would love to see $1 Million Secret where we get other cast members from other shows, though.
From
I
other
think
shows.
that'd be
Yeah.
awesome. That would
Yeah,
be
it is.
awesome.
But for them to solve that, I think they should also focus on the shows that they had before, because I'm not happy with the fact that I haven't heard anything about The Circle. And The Circle could
I don't think it's
provide.
coming back.
Oh no.
I don't think it's coming back.
I should have known when Michelle Buteau stopped showing up for the reunions.
For
But
sure.
oh, that's sad. I
Yeah.
actually enjoy The Circle. I absolutely should not, like by all accounts, I should
Yeah.
find it annoying, but it works for me. But I think that's where we got QT from. That's where we got Shoba. What am I saying
Yep.
his name right?
Shuba.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Shuba from, and all the people. So that's a
My boy
good
Joey
place to.
Sasso's from there. Love Joey.
That's right.
Shout out Joey.
There's enough people there that you can get from the pool, and then you could just rotate while you test out this new shows. But who am I? I'm not. I'm just talking in a microphone. So
It's all
you
we do.
know.
And
Okay.
stop letting these reality TV people create podcasts. You're clouding our space. Let us normal people have the podcast platforms.
Ricky,
Everybody.
I cannot. They're just phasing us out because they
I
get the
know
scoop. They get the first everything. So
they
But
do.
anyways, this has been so much fun. It's always fun to talk to someone who's just as enthusiastic as you are about these hobbies of ours.
I love it. I love it. I love trash TV better than anybody.
Do you have any final thoughts on the
No,
show?
thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you very, very much for having me on the show. If you've listened this far, thank you. Continue to support the show. It's a good one. We got a good host here, and thank you for having me. And I will come back on in the future, and I'll definitely have you on the Love and Reality podcast soon. We'll talk something. I would love to
Yay!
have you on, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And before we go, just tell people where they can find you or where you want them to find you.
You can find the Love and Reality podcast on Instagram. It's Love in Reality Pod. Sorry, I didn't know. You can find me on Instagram at Ricky Valero underscore, and you can find me basically everywhere at Ricky Valero underscore. That's RICKYVALERO underscore. I'm on all the socials, TikTok. I've got interviews coming up with all the people from Battle Camp coming out this week. I've got interviews with people from Extract It. And then, of course, as we talked about, I've got interviews with Sydney, Kyle, Chris, and Sam up on the YouTube channel already. So,
Awesome. And guys, you already know where to find me. It is AltaCall, MAFS, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads, on Blue Sky. And please give me a 5-star rating. Really helps on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And send me all your thoughts. And if you watch the show, let me know. And I have homework to watch Extracted. So I'm going to do that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time. Bye, guys.